Welcome. Okay. So, good evening. My name is Tzvi Sytner. I am a rabbi in Toronto at the Village Shul. I am honored to have my wife sitting here, Miriam Sytner. She's the rock in our home. And I want to open up with a story. So there's this town in Poland. Actually, there's two towns in Poland. One town in Poland, interesting enough, has all boys. Just tons of bachrim, like lots of boys who are of marriageable age. Then another town, I don't know, maybe 50 miles away, there's another town that has all girls, also marriageable age. And they realized, in this town there's a shidduch problem, in this town there's a shidduch problem. We don't have any girls, we don't have any boys. So somebody came up with a brilliant idea. They said, what we're going to do? We're going to send two boys from our town to the town with all the girls. We'll make a shidduch, and in Eretz Hashem, if this works, and the two of them marry two girls from that town, then we'll be able to do this more often. Genius. So, they picked two boys, Moshe and Yassel. Moshe and Yassel. So Moshe and Yassel get on the train. They already had arranged that there's going to be two wonderful girls waiting with their mothers at the stop in the other town. And the train goes. Moshe and Yassel are heading off. And halfway through the journey, Yassel says, I can't do this. I'm not ready. I'm nervous. I can't get married. I'm done. And he gets off the train and he heads back to his town. Moshe says, all right, what am I going to do? They're waiting. So Moshe keeps going. Finally, they arrive in the town. And when the train stops, he gets off the train and he sees standing there two mothers, two daughters. The two mothers and two daughters look at him. They see one bacher. So right away, the mothers look at each other. They look at their daughters. They look at Moshe and they go, he's mine, he's mine, he's mine, he's mine, he's mine. No, he's for my daughter, my daughter. They start arguing, who's it for? And Moshe says, no, so relax. We'll figure this out, work it out. Civil, ladies, okay? They decide they're going to go to Beis Din. Let's go to the Beis Din. Let's go to the Rav. Let's see what the Rav has to say. So they go to the Rav and they explain the situation to the Rav. Two mothers, two daughters, one bacher. So the Rav is thinking, what do we do? He says, you know what, Taka? I remember one time with Shmuel Hanavi. With Shlomo. Thank you. With Shlomo, he says, there was one baby, two mothers. I know what we're going to do. We're going to cut them in half. So one mother, repulsive. And the other mother goes, yeah, cut them in half. And the Rav goes, that's the real mother-in-law. I wasn't talking about my mother-in-law. I was talking about his mother-in-law. So sometimes in life we say things, perhaps not always the best thing. Sometimes we say things we regret. Sometimes we do things we regret. And that's what this class is. Tonight's discussion is, how do we live the life we want, not the life that happens? How do we live life without having regrets? And that's the topic. So I want to open up with a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. It's a Mishnah in Pirkei Avos that we're all very familiar with, that opens like this. Im ein ani li mili. If I'm not for myself, I'm going to loosely give a parish here. If I'm not for myself, if I don't take care of myself, if I don't take responsibility for myself, if I don't focus on myself, mili. Who's going to do it for me? Nobody. Therefore, in life, I have to focus on myself. Ukshani la'atzmi, and if I do only focus on myself, and I don't focus on my family, and I don't focus on my community, and I don't focus on how can I make Klal Yisrael better, and how can I save the world, and how can I make the world a better place, and etc., ma'ani. What have I done with my life? And if not now, when? And one of the big questions that all the Mefarshim ask on this is, what's the connection? You have three statements. If I'm not for myself, I don't take care of myself, who's going to do it? If I do take care of only myself, I don't focus on Klal Yisrael, I don't focus on others, what am I doing with myself? And if not now, when? Are these three different statements? Is there some theme here? What's going on? Put this question on the virtual blackboard here for a second, and we'll come back to it. You with me? I'll assume this is the English-speaking crowd and you're just not interactive. Okay, so there's a palliative care nurse. palliative care nurse whose job is to spend the last 12 weeks of people's lives with them. So as soon as an elderly person, or not elderly person, but a young person is told that they have 3 months left to live, they are transferred to her unit, and her job is to spend the last 12 weeks of their lives with them. And this palliative care nurse makes it a point to really get to know her patients. Look, it's the last 12 weeks of their life, and she's really a wonderful nurse, gets to know them. And one question that she would say to her all the time, ask all of her patients was, do you have any regrets? Any regrets about your life? And over the years, working in this role, she kept a little diary. And she would write down all the answers she received from people at the end of their lives. What are the 5 most common answers, the 5 most common regrets that people had at the end of their lives? Thank you very much. No, I was kidding. Okay, so you probably want to know what they are. You curious?
No, we have time.
We have time. What's the rush? I'll share them with you. Number 1, in her journal. This is published, by the way, you can find this. She said, the first answer was, I wish I had the courage to live the life I wanted and not the life that people expected. I wish I hadn't worked so hard in my job. Was number 2. Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings in my life. The 4th regret that people had, I wish I stayed in touch with friends more. And the 5th regret was, I wish I let myself be happier. Interesting enough, there's actually a Forbes article that also has a very, very similar theme to it, and I'll just touch on some of those as well. Also, what are the biggest regrets people have in life? I wish I didn't work so hard at the expense of my family. I wish I turned off my cell phone. I wish I didn't let my marriage break down. I wish I spent more time with my kids. I wish I was a better parent. There are actually regrets people have at the end of their lives. And so what I want to talk about is, how do we live life with no regrets? How do we live life knowing that we're living it to its fullest? We're maximizing our lives. So when I was living in Westchester County, we actually had there was a guy, every Sunday morning I would see him in shul. And every Sunday morning he would say, Rabbi, one day we're going to learn. We're going to study together. And I looked at him, and we'll call him John, because that was his name. And I said, John, I'm looking forward to learning. Be in touch. A week would go by. I would see him the next Sunday. Rabbi, one day we're going to learn together. And I would say, all right, John, here's my email address. Send me an email. Let's arrange it. And a week would go by, and there was no email from John. And the next Sunday I would see him again. And he would say, as always, Rabbi, one day we're going to learn together. And I'd give my phone number. I said, John, just give me a call. We'll set it up. No call. Now, while this is going on every Sunday, the same thing, where every Sunday John is saying, we're going to learn one day, one day, one day, one day, one day. While this is happening, I get a call from this shul in Toronto, the village shul, that says, hey, are you interested? Would you like to come check out our shul? We're looking for a rabbi. Now, in my mind, I'm going, this is interesting. And I start checking out this community, and it becomes a reality for our family that we're actually going to be moving to Toronto. Now, this guy doesn't know this. And every Sunday, it's going by, he's going, one day, Rabbi, we're going to learn. And I start thinking, John, one day, I'm not going to be here. And one Sunday, you'll show up. And you'll say, Rabbi, one day we're going to learn, but you're going to look around, and I won't be here. And the opportunity will be lost. We can't live life saying, one day. One day. Because one day may not come. One day is really synonymous with Im B'Yirtzeh Hashem. Eretz Hashem. Are you going to go to the Project Inspire? Yeah, Eretz Hashem, Eretz Hashem. Eretz Hashem means probably not, right? I remember my daughter once asked me, Tati, can we play a game? I said, yeah, Eretz Hashem, Eretz Hashem. She said, Tati, what does Eretz Hashem mean? I said, if Hashem wants. She paused, she goes, Tati, Hashem wants. We say, Eretz Hashem, Eretz Hashem. One day, right? One day we're going to. But one day may not come. So the question is, how do we live in the moment so that we're not missing out on life? How do we do that? I want to read a poem to you, one that I think is just unbelievable. It's not written by a Jewish author. The poem is called The Dash. It's written by a woman named Linda Ellis. Listen to this. I read of a man who stood to speak at the funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on her tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came her date of birth and spoke the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most of all was the dash between those years. For that dash represents all the time that she spent alive on earth. And now, only those who loved her know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend our dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. If we could just slow down enough to consider what's true and real, and always try to understand the way other people feel, and be less quick to anger, and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect, and more often wear a smile, remembering that this little special dash might only last a while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you spent your dash? It's an unbelievable poem. But I think the message that comes across is so clear. It's all about stopping right now and asking the question, what kind of life do I want to have led? At the end, what kind of life do I want to have said I led? It's an unbelievable thing. And I think, it's interesting actually, I share with you, when I was working as at one point I trained as a marriage and family therapist. And there was an intervention that we were taught to use. The intervention is called the miracle question. The miracle question essentially is, somebody comes in and they say, I'm having a really hard time with XYZ. And you're trying to get to the center of whatever the issue is. You really want to get to the crux, what's really bothering the person, and what would have to change for them to really feel like the problem is fixed. So the intervention that's used is called the miracle question. And essentially what you say to the person is, I want you to imagine, you're coming in with a problem. I want you to imagine that you went to sleep tonight. You woke up tomorrow morning and a miracle happened overnight and everything is exactly how you want it to be. What changed? Right now you're coming in with a problem. I ask you, if tomorrow morning you wake up and life is exactly how you want it to be, what changed in your life? And they'll say, my marriage is better. I'm less anxious. Whatever it is, right? And then you say, okay, great, that's the thing. Now let's figure out how to work on that. Is that something that we can work on? So I've taken this concept of the miracle question, and I think we can actually utilize it in our lives. Stop right now. Maybe you're 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 12, whatever age you are, and jump ahead. if I'm at the end of my life now, what kind of life do I want to have led? If I can jump ahead and see that life was led exactly how I wanted it. Obviously, there's hashgacha in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to send us things all the time. But mitzidi, if it could be led the way I want to say that it was led, what would I do now differently? What would I change now? I believe this idea, perhaps, is what's going on in that Mishnah in Pirkei Avos. If I don't take care of myself and focus on myself, who's going to do it? But if I only focus on myself, if I'm not focused on my family, if I'm not focused enough on my kids, if I'm not focused enough on Klal Yisrael, if I'm not focusing on how to change the world, so on and so forth, if I'm not creating the chesed organizations, ma'ani, what am I? What have I done with my life? And therefore, of these two, which one do we regret more? Nobody says, I regret not pampering myself at the end of life. Nobody at the end, sitting on their deathbed goes, I wish I had bought myself another car. I wish I had spent more time at the gym. Nobody says that. I wish I had, spent more time on my makeup. Nobody says that. Everything people say, the regrets people say are things they wish they would have done more for others. I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have spent more time helping Klal Yisrael. Those are the things people regret. I wish I was a better father, better mother, better spouse. It's always about klapei chutz. And therefore, im lo achshav emasai. If we're not going to ask the question now, what kind of life do I want to have led? Then we'll end up having those regrets. Now's the time to ask the question. If I only focus on myself, not enough on others, I'm going to regret it. So ask the question now. What kind of life do I want to have led? This is part one of the talk. Do you actually want to start recording now? You could. No, I'm just kidding. Part one is looking ahead and asking yourself, be able to put on paper, because there's something we all have. What kind of life do I want to have led? And thinking back, say, you know what? Here's one thing that I know I'm going to wish that I had done. Write that down and figure out what are the steps to get there. This is part one. Identify it. Now I want to get to part two. Very often people will say, okay, look, that's great. That's great. But lamaisa, tachlis. Let's say I say, you know what, I want to have a better marriage, I want to be a better parent, I want to spend more time with my kids and less time at work. I want to be able to create a chesed organization, I want to be able to help Klal Yisrael. Rabbi, come on. Tachlis. Reality. Life is busy. There's a reason I haven't done it so far. Okay, it's not so simple. I've got a lot on my plate. There's a Mishnah that says, Al Tomar, don't say, Kishe'efne eshne. When I'm free, I will learn. Perhaps we could also look at this Mishnah and say, Al Tomar Kishe'efne eshne. Don't say, when I'm free, I'm going to eshne, change. I'm going to make a change. Don't say, when I'm free, I'll do it. Why? Says the Mishnah, Shema lo tipane. Because maybe you'll never be free. Don't say one day, because maybe one day is never going to come. Instead, what should you say? Not one day, say day one. Day one, today. Don't say one day, say day one. An unbelievable reading. The Nesiv Shalom looks at this Mishnah. Doesn't say, he looks at it in the most incredible view. It's not that Al Tomer K'Shefne Esha. Don't say when I'm free I'll learn. When I'm free I'll change. Shema lo tipana, because maybe you won't be free. In other words, maybe I won't have free time. And the Nesiv Shalom looks at it and says, no. It's not maybe. It's not maybe that you won't. It's that maybe you're not supposed to be free. Don't say one day when I have more time I'll spend more time with my kids. Not because maybe it won't happen, but because maybe it's not supposed to happen. I have people all the time tell me, you know what, Rabbi, one day I'm going to go on this Israel trip. One day I'm going to spend more time, studying. And it's not that maybe this person it'll never happen, maybe because maybe they'll be too busy. It's maybe they're not supposed to be free, and maybe it's supposed to happen anyway. Listen to this. Who had one of the greatest excuses in Jewish history? Avraham. There Avraham is. He's living in a house of idol worship. We all know the story. Okay, living in a house of idol worship. His whole society is about polytheism. And he's told to go be monotheistic, to go tell the world that there's one Hashem. Now, honestly, I gotta say, there are certain things, you don't say in your house. No, you wait till you're out of the house to do. If you have to make certain changes, wait till you're out of the house. Sometimes it's not the best time to say or do things while you're in the house. Avram had the best excuse. His excuse was, honestly, really, I don't want to ruffle my feathers, and my parents, everyone's going to be upset, people aren't going to be happy if I start talking about monotheism. Let me just wait till I'm out of the house, when I'm a little bit older and I'm off on my own, I'm free, etc. I'll go off to university, and then I'll start talking about monotheism. He had the best excuses ever. Shalom bayis, keep it of aim. I don't know, maybe you can make up all kinds of stuff, right? But HaKadosh Baruch Hu tells him, Lech lecha me'artzecha imimoladtecha u'mebeis avicha el ha'aretz asher areka. An unbelievable reading. Says in the Tzvi Shalom, when Hashem says, go, Lech lecha, go to you, go do what you're supposed to do in life. Go be the great you, Avraham. You know what he was saying? Not me'artzecha, from, go leave there. Mi beis avicha, from your father's house. Go leave your father's house and go do it when you leave. Says in the Tzvi Shalom, he was saying, Lech me'artzecha. Mi beis, from where you are now. Not physically go from there, but go from there. Start now, from where you are right now. Mi beis avicha, from your father's house. Mi moladtecha, from your birthplace. Start it now. Go be the greatest you now. Start talking about monotheism now. That's what the Tzvi Shalom says. Unbelievable thing. Come on. He had the best excuse ever. He could have said Hashem, really, come on, this is not the best. You're my dad, my father, my mother. They're really not into this stuff. No. Not Shema lo tipaneh. Maybe you're not going to be free. Maybe you're not supposed to be free. Hashem wanted Avram to start it now, while it was uncomfortable. Don't wait till you're comfortable and it's easy. Do it when you're busy. Maybe you're supposed to go on that trip to Eretz Yisrael when you don't have the time. Maybe you're supposed to spend more time with your kids when it's inconvenient. Maybe you're supposed to go out on that date with your spouse even when you do have a lot of work. Not Shema, maybe when I'm free, because maybe you're not going to be free. Maybe you're not supposed to be free. Maybe you're supposed to make time for the things that one day you regret, even now when it's busy and when you don't have the time. Even when it's difficult. Now. And you say, oh, come on. I get it. It's cute. One day, day one. But really, unbelievable thing. I'm pushing you. I'm pushing you because I'm telling you, look ahead, ask yourself what you're going to regret, and do it now. I'm pushing you. But you know what? Do you know what makes us great? Life begins when you step outside your comfort zone. Life begins when you push yourself. It's an unbelievable thing. We're called Bnei Yisrael, not Bnei Yaakov. And we know that Yaakov gets his name, Yisrael. He gets the name when? After a fight. After a fight. He wrestles with the Malach and then he gets the name, Yisrael. What gives us our name in life? What gives us our what makes us who we are? You know what makes us who we are? When we fight the good fight. When we push ourselves to the limit, that's what gives us our shame. That's what makes us who we are. Not easy street. Not one day, not when I'm free. You do it when it's hard. You push when it's inconvenient. You step outside your comfort zone. That's a Bnei Yisrael. We are people that fight. There's anti-Semitism. There's all kinds of optimism. There's things that's pushing us. That's going against us. And we push back. That gives us our name. What makes us great in life is when we're able to fight back, when we're able to do the things that are difficult, even when it's inconvenient. Look ahead. Ask yourself, what kind of life do I want to have led? So that we live the life we want, not the life that happens. Come on, how often do people say, you ask them, oh, so how did you end up here? How did you end up in this job? Well, I got one thing led to the next, and my spouse, and we ended up here, and then my kids, and so we had to switch here, and then I got a job there, and that's how I am here today. Well, that sounds really thoughtful. Come on. What kind of life do you want to live? That's going to make you great. I'll share an amazing story with you. There was a battalion of soldiers. A battalion of soldiers is dropped around 3 o'clock in the morning into the Iraqi desert. And they're there on a very top secret mission. There's about 50 soldiers. And as soon as they enter, all of them go into their Humvees, and they start driving through the desert. Shortly after, 5 minutes into their drive, all of a sudden RPG missiles come hitting all the Humvees. They blow up one after the next. There are 2 survivors. The commander and 1 soldier. It's 115 degrees Fahrenheit in the desert. And the 2 soldiers look, they figure out their map, where they are, they get their bearings. It's about a 3-day walk to the nearest US base. So they start walking. 115 degrees, sweat is pouring down their faces, their lips are parched, they're thirsty. They walk for about 8 hours, they stop for a water break. Commander picks up his canteen, takes a swig. The private picks up his canteen, takes a swig, and he realizes it's empty. Looks at the bottom, bullet hole went straight through the canteen. So he turns to the commander, he says, "Commander, can I get a little bit of water?" Commander says, "No, sir." Okay. They keep on walking, another 8 hours. They're on day 2. And now the private is so thirsty. He says, "Commander, please." Commander takes a swig of his, looks him in the eyes, and he says, "No." Soldier says, "Commander, you know Army rules. 2 soldiers in the desert, only 1 canteen of water. You've got to share that water. You know Army rules." Commander looks at him. He says, "Stand down, soldier. You're not getting anything." Day 3, he's dying. He's had nothing to drink. And he turns to the commander, and he says, "I'm going to survive just to have you court-martialed. You're a sick man." The commander says, "No, you're not. You're going to die in this desert." Takes a swig, and the 2 of them walk. They finally make it to the base, and they're there on their hands and knees crawling through the sand. They see them from far. They quickly send out paramedics. Paramedics grab them, pull them into the Army base hospital, into the tent, and they start reviving them back to life. And they come up to the commander after hearing the story from the private. And they say, "Commander, is it true that you didn't share your water? You know Army rules, 2 soldiers in the desert." And he says, "It's true." And they say, "Commander, you know you can be court-martialed. Why didn't you share your water?" And he lifts up the canteen, and he shows them that his also had a bullet hole in the bottom. He said, "So why did you put him through this?" He said, "I knew that if I didn't get this soldier to be so angry, I knew that if I didn't really challenge this soldier, he would have died. But if I challenge him, if I push him to the max, if I give him a challenge, that's what's going to make him survive. That's going to be what's going to make him great." It might not be convenient. It might not be easy, but we've got to stop. We've got to look ahead and then say, what kind of life do I want to have led? At the end, at 120, when I'm on my deathbed, what am I going to say I wish I had done? What's it going to be? More time with the family? More time with the spouse? I always wanted to start a chesed organization. I always wanted to be a speaker. I always wanted to go Tomchei Shabbos, whatever it is. I should have. I could have. One day. No. Day 1. Now. And even though it's not convenient, that's going to be what's going to make you great. Let me pause for a second and recap. We opened up talking about the mother-in-law. The idea that sometimes we say things that we regret. But we don't want to live life with regrets. Just like this palliative care nurse, the 5 top reasons at the end of people's lives, people have regrets. But how do we not have regrets? How do we not say one day, in Mirza Hashem, like my daughter said, in Mirza Hashem, one day? Instead, what do we have to do? Like we saw in the poem, The Dash. We got to look ahead. We got to think, what type of life do we want to have led in that little dash? What do we want that dash to represent? And we pointed out that it's not easy. It's very not easy. But what's going to make us great is when we push ourselves to do the things, to live the life we want to live, even when it's inconvenient, even when it's tough. Just like we see from Yaakov, Yisrael, that's what we are. Our name, it's the fight that gives us the name of who we are. That's what's going to make us great. I want to end off with one story. So just to recap, there were 2 lessons. 1, look ahead. Know what you want to have lived. And lesson 2, do it now. Don't wait. Don't say one day, day one. Make it today, tomorrow. Those are the 2 lessons. Let me end off with a story. So there's this gentleman, his life dream is to always wanting to have met Eliyahu Hanavi. That's his life dream. He wants to meet Eliyahu Hanavi. So he goes to the Baal Shem Tov, and he says, "Hey, Baal Shem, can you tell me? I want to meet Eliyahu Hanavi." So Baal Shem Tov says, "Oh, you want to meet Eliyahu Hanavi? I'll tell you what you do. I want you to go up to the Carpathian Mountains on Erev Rosh Hashanah. And on Erev Rosh Hashanah, Carpathian Mountains, over there, you're going to meet Eliyahu Hanavi." Now it's a 3-day journey to the Carpathian Mountains, so he packs lots of food, and he starts traveling. And he arrives at the top of Carpathian Mountains on Erev Rosh Hashanah. And over there, he looks around, and doesn't see any Eliyahu Hanavi. Disappointed. He just sees one little house. So he walks up, knocks on the door. A widow answers the door. 9 children in the house. She says, "Can I help you?" He said, "Listen, I came here for a purpose, and I have nowhere to stay. Do you mind, just for Rosh Hashanah, can I stay with you and the children?" She says, "Listen, we barely have enough food for the family. We really don't." And he says, "Don't worry, I have enough food for your whole family. I just need a place to sleep." She said, "Okay, no problem. There's some hay over here. You can sleep over here on the floor." Comes in, Rosh Hashanah, first night. Stays there looking around, waiting for Eliyahu Hanavi, no Eliyahu Hanavi. This goes to the end of Rosh Hashanah. He gives them food, waiting the whole time for Eliyahu Hanavi, no Eliyahu Hanavi. He's broken. He's angry. He goes back to the Baal Shem Tov. 3 days later, he arrives at Baal Shem Tov. He says, "Baal Shem, what happened? You told me Erev Rosh Hashanah, I'll go up to the Carpathian Mountains. I'm going to see Eliyahu Hanavi. I didn't meet him." Baal Shem Tov says, "You didn't meet him? I'll tell you what. Go back to the Carpathian Mountains on Erev Yom Kippur. And on Erev Yom Kippur, you're going to meet Eliyahu Hanavi." At this point, he's a little skeptical, but he packs his bag again, 3 days worth of food, and he heads up to the top of the Carpathian Mountains. He gets to the top on Erev Yom Kippur, and he looks around. There's no Eliyahu Hanavi. The same house. He figures, look, I need a place to stay. So he walks up to the door, and he's about to knock on the door. And he hears a little voice. "Mommy, Mommy, what are we going to do? It's Erev Yom Kippur. How are we supposed to fast the next 24 hours? We have no food." And the mother says, "My kinder, don't worry. Just like HaKadosh Baruch Hu sent us Eliyahu Hanavi before Rosh Hashanah, He's going to send us Eliyahu Hanavi before Yom Kippur." And right then, he knocks on the door. Rabbosai, it's not easy to look ahead and to think, what am I going to regret at the end? And then to look back, go back into our shoes right now in the moment we are, and start making those changes now. It's not easy. But one thing's for sure. You're going to discover parts of who you are. You're going to start discovering parts of you, parts of the Eliyahu Hanavi that are within you. If you can start making those changes, fight the good fight, and live the life that you want, not the life that happens. Thank you very much.